Today, we're gonna talk about Vandam's best blade, Rock. And while he might be Vandam's best blade, you can also use him on Rex, which is what we're going to focus on in this video since I think Rex is just a bit more useful than Vandam in the long run. So sorry Vandam fans. Being up front, Rock is not one of the better blades in this game. He's not as bad as Dromark, and he isn't exactly bottom tier, but he doesn't really have all that much going for him. Regardless though, he is a guaranteed story blade and someone everyone has access to. Plus, I'm sure there's a lot of Rockettes out there who just love Rock, so in this video we're going to discuss the bird and explain what makes him so thoroughly unspectacular, but show you how to best take advantage of the few things he has to offer if you still want to use him to have the most success. If you enjoy this type of guide content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and look forward to all of the future blades, both good and bad, because it does help out so much. So Rock is an exclusive blade obtained through the story, only usable by Vandam and Rex. He is the only dual scythe weapon class blade in the game, so he comes with some unique arts and weapon stats when used. He is an attack class blade and his stats reflect this pretty heavily. He has the lowest possible defenses in the game for a rare blade at 5 and 5 for physical and ether defense, so if he ever takes aggro he'll be taking a lot of damage. He also comes with the highest critical hit rate in the entire game, tied with Corvin at a remarkable 60% with the strongest core chip. This is probably one of his best attributes because among all attack class blades in the game, he has the lowest auto attack stat, which is pretty unfortunate. 1418 is certainly not that impressive and will serve to hinder his damage potential. He also has the lowest block rate tier, but that doesn't really matter all that much. His stat mod is 15% dexterity, which can sometimes be useful, but typically since Rex is the driver that has Mithra with Foresight, and Night Vision is super easy to slap onto a lot of blades, this isn't the most useful stat mod. He does have a cooldown of 5, which gives him some nice uptime at least, but let's take a look at his skill tree since that's what really matters for most blades. Rock's first skill is Swoop. It is an additive damage increase that increases damage dealt from the back by 20% at level 1, rising up to 100% at level 5. Truth be told, this is not a bad skill, but it can be unreliable. It's great to have a damage increase additive like this because having more damage as an offensive blade is always good. It's a bit of a catch-22 though, because if you're doing a lot of damage as an offensive blade, you might also get aggro, and if you get aggro, enemies are going to face you, which means you lose damage and also have aggro. Now Rock has ways around this since he has another skill that helps, and his damage is thoroughly mediocre anyway, so even with this ability he probably won't be taking aggro too much. Furthermore, if you want to chain attack or something and get this bonus, you can easily run behind the enemy before doing so even if you do have aggro, which means you'd get this bonus the entire chain. All in all, this is probably Rock's best skill and something he desperately needs to remain relevant as a damage dealer. We'll get more into why his damage isn't really that good later. Rock's second skill is Storm and Stress. The description for this is a bit confusing, but this skill will increase Rock's damage for the first 30 seconds of battle by 60% at level 1, up to 100% at level 5. Basically for 30 seconds you get a free unconditional damage boost. This skill is honestly not too great since many fights in the game are longer, making it quickly lose its purpose. Plus, if you don't start the battle on Rock, this timer will still start, meaning that you have even less time for this bonus. And in challenge mode, those battles don't even end between phases, so this bonus will quickly be invalidated in most situations. It might be good for quickly clearing out easier to kill enemies, and on someone like Cutie Pie with Swift Strike, it can be great since she already has massive damage, but for Rock, this skill doesn't end up being that amazing since it's hard to get a large benefit from the skill in most fights against stronger enemies. It's still better than a lot of skills in the game, but ultimately a different form of damage increase likely would have been better. Rock's final skill is Sickle. This skill reduces aggro buildup by 20% at level 1, rising to 40% at level 5. Aggro reduction skills are alright for an offensive blade like this, but Rock's damage isn't really that amazing anyway, as already stated, so depending on team setup, he may not even be taking that much aggro anyway, making the skill not the most useful. But not having enemies target him does mean he can take advantage of back attack more, so at least that's some built-in synergy in the kit, even if I think this skill could be better. All in all, Rock's skills are alright on paper, but the rest of his kit kinda lets him down, so let's get into his specials. Rock's level 1 special is Deathwing. It is a physical special of average speed, an average damage ratio of 300 at level 1, 460 at level 5, and 480 at max affinity, and it's just all around pretty average. It has no special modifier, and the effect is not really useful in 95% of scenarios since it is just increasing damage to aerial creatures who are not a common enemy type, and not really an enemy type used for strong enemies and super bosses at all. There's not much of a specific strong use for this special, but it is a 4-hit level 1, which is nice since many level 1s don't have a lot of hits, so maybe that can be helpful for Rock if you can get his damage high enough to cap in chain attacks or something with this. Rock's level 2 special is Crushing Twister. It is another physical special with average speed and damage, but this one has 8 hits, which is also on the higher end of level 2 specials. The damage ratio is 400 at level 1, 560 at level 5, and 580 at max affinity, which isn't really that great at all, but at least the effect is a bit more useful this time since it increases damage when you're under 30% health, which with Rock's low defenses isn't that hard to hit to actually take advantage of this should you want to. That can be a bit risky, but you can actually make it somewhat work thanks to one of Rock's arts we'll talk about in a sec. There's nothing else inherently special about this special with no modifier or anything, so just use it when you feel the need to use a wind special or something. Rock's level 3 special is Feather Typhoon. Once again, the damage is pretty mediocre, with the ratio being pretty low for a level 3, 500 at level 1, 660 at level 5, and only 680 at max affinity. And for a change, it's also ether-based for some reason, but on the positive side, this one at least has a 25% critical modifier, meaning Rock's critical hit rate will get a boost on this special, making critical hits even more likely. It also has a small area of effect radius, making it okay for hitting multiple enemies. The effect on it really sucks though, a minor chance to defeat aerial enemies on hit. Once again, aerial enemies aren't that common, this doesn't even work on unique monsters or bosses, and 5% is very low to have an RNG chance of instantly defeating. Really not a useful bonus effect, so I don't recommend using this special that often if you're using Rock. Rock's level 4 is Crimson Storm. It is a physical-based special, and as per usual with level 4s, it has the innate positives of Freezing Break and Topple for driver combo setups, and gives free immunity when using the special during the length of the animation. Outside of that, it has a ratio of 1075, which is pretty standard among level 4s, but does make it Rock's best damaging special pretty easily. It also has a 40% critical hit modifier, so that gives it a pretty much guaranteed chance to get critical hits on everything at max affinity, which you have to be to use level 4s, so that's also very nice. The one really odd thing about it is that the bonus effect is increasing damage to launched enemies by 150%. I find this weird for two reasons. The first being that using level 4 while an enemy is launched isn't a great idea since launch length is based on the spinning animation, so it will likely end while this level 4 is being used. And secondly, Rock already has something he wants to do when the enemy is launched, which is smash, and that's likely the main reason to ever use him. A bit of an odd decision if you ask me, and overall Rock specials are pretty unspectacular. As far as setup, it makes sense to use Moon Matter Core Chip to maximize his critical hit rate to the high value of 60%, since that's one of the major benefits Rock has going for himself. For Aux Cores, I would recommend the standard damage boosting Aux Cores of Affinity Max Attack and Outdoor or Indoor Attack Up to give some easy to fulfill, unrestricted added to damage increases, since he, or 4, needs all the damage he can get. Night Vision is an option if you really need accuracy since she can't team up with Mithra, and Critical Up could be useful to let him get a 100% critical hit rate should you really want him to. I can't see much else being that useful about him, unfortunately. Let's talk a little bit about Rock's arts, because this is one of the strengths and weaknesses he has. For one, he is one of the only offensive blades with a guaranteed evasion art. This means he can dodge any dangerous attacks as long as this art is up, which is actually pretty nice and can be useful in certain situations. He also comes with a smash art on Rex, and this is probably the biggest reason to use him. He is one of the only 2 smash arts on Rex, and sure, he might be outclassed in every way by the other option, but if that other blade needs to be used on someone else because Corvin really is just that good, then Rock is a great option for smashing on Rex. There are some challenges where this exact scenario happens, so Rex is left to smash enemies with Rock, so good for him for finding a small niche thanks to this one art. If you're controlling Rex directly, this can also be useful for smashing enemies since there aren't too many options for smash in the game, so this one thing can at least ensure Rock has some kind of viability. Now, the problem with Rock is that his arts have pretty long cooldowns, meaning he struggles to build specials fast and put out damage himself. He can't really arts chain effectively, and without art recharge pouch items, he will struggle a lot to be useful. That means if you really want to take advantage of Rock, it's going to either need to be on a Rex setup that is constantly swapping blades to driver combo and uses overclocking Vangle, or you'll need to focus on art recharge heavily for pouch setup. Vortex Edge can also be ran for its lower cooldown of 6, which can help recharge rate, but it still sucks using it over Cyclone Smash. For accessories, Crimson Headband is pretty much a must. Rock has a high critical hit rate, and any way to help boost his damage further with an item like this is greatly appreciated. Avant-Garde Metal is a good option since Rock fights will be longer fights and it needs to remain healthy, but it's not required if you have good driver combo support or another source of healing. Or if you plan to rely on Rock's evasion art, of course. Divine Van Braces can also be a solid option for increasing his damage further, and besides that, burst symbols are good for party support if you plan on chain attacking a lot as usual, overclocking Bangle is great if Rex wants to do driver combos a lot, and Omega Drive is good if you want to take advantage of Rock's critical hits or party meter. If you focus primarily on smashing, Console Pauldrons can also be a decent item to consider since it increases smash damage. For pouch setup, Rex likes drinks and Rock likes fish, so I use the art recharge items that correspond to this. Pretty simple and straightforward, like you might expect. With all that done, let's take a look at Rock's practical use. So naturally, if Rock's biggest strength is smashing, then your party members are going to want to offer him some driver combo support so he can smash as much as he possibly can. Obviously, Cutie Pie is going to be the best possible choice for this because she's the one with the absolute best break art, and she also has a good launch art on top of that. Then you just need to cover Topple in the other slot. Since you can't use Mythra and Rock at the same time, that's probably going to have to be covered by Zeke or Morag. Morag has a great Topple art with Shulk, and Zeke has a great Topple art with Axes and Knuckle Claws. From there, you're just going to want to driver combos enemies as much as possible. Get all that smash damage you can, rack up on those legendary core crystals so you don't have enough of those. You know, just the standard stuff. So the smash damage can actually end up being quite a big amount. That was almost 900,000 right there, and that's always going to be useful to have in any kind of fight against any enemy. And if you can reliably keep the enemy driver combo locked, then you can easily get behind them even if they're targeting you, like them doing right here. That way you can take advantage of your back attack passive with pretty much no issues whatsoever. And that also leads to just making your life much easier in the long run. So, Tyranitar's not really that hard of an enemy, I would say. He has pretty low break resist, all things considered. I just want to show off the level 4 here as well on launch. So even though I'm using it on launch, like as soon as he was launched, he falls to the ground, so I don't get the full benefit of using level 4 on the launch. And that's the problem with that level 4 having additional damage to launch enemies. That and the fact that you also want to smash when the enemy is launched also. Let's try a bit of a harder enemy here. This is a movable layer Carlos, normal mode. This is the highest levels enemy in the game and super boss in the game for challenge mode. Technically, there's one that's higher level, but he doesn't really count because it's not really a real enemy. So for all intents and purposes, this is the highest level enemy in the game, and he has 38 million health. And we're going to employ much of the same strategy here, except we're going to offer some blade combos and fusion combos at certain points during this fight as well. And just kind of show off what you can do with that. So there's a couple paths you can do here. You can do Earth, Fire into Wind if you want to use Rock as a finisher. You can do 2 Wind into Earth if you want to use Tora as a finisher, which might be a better option. And you can also do Triple Fire. I accidentally used Dog as a special first here, so I don't end up getting a good combo as soon as I would like. You can see right there how useful the evasion art is. I was able to use Evade on Feral Beat, so I didn't get Shackle Drivered, which is actually pretty useful. Now, if I remember correctly, this attack applies Doom. I didn't actually see it apply Doom, but I went ahead and used my level 4 anyway just to make sure we didn't actually die from that effect. So always make sure you can keep up your level 4 if you can in fights like these to make sure you've got that invincibility whenever you need it, and that'll help you quite a bit. So, because he's really big and it's just hard to keep track of moving around him to get the bonus back attacks, I don't really focus on that a ton in this fight. Especially because we have Dagas on Zeke, so we've got the 120% additional additive giving us a little bit of diminishing returns on that. And the smash damage we're getting is already damage cap as well. So, it's just very, it's helpful to do that if you don't have aggro and you know you won't take it for a while and you can keep an enemy in place. But when he's constantly changing positions, it's hard to always get the back attack bonus here. I think if you're wanting to control Rock, strategic use of your evasion art to block dangerous attacks if you're being targeted, and then smashing when you can is pretty much all the main things you're going to want to worry about here. I didn't have my evasion art up there, so I couldn't dodge this again, which was unfortunate. And I think Vortex Edge is a pretty decent art just because of its lower cooldown, making you be able to actually use arts a bit more often compared to Cyclone Smash. But I think Cyclone Smash is a bit stronger overall if you didn't have to worry about Rock's really high art cooldowns. But You can kind of see here, thanks to like his high critical hit rate, we can keep party meter up as well, so we're not really in any kind of danger in this fight, like regardless, which is very helpful. So with the Volcano set, we can use, I knew he enraged there, so I wanted to use my level 4 to block the Wild Wave here. So now we've got this Volcanic Storm, we'll use it on a break. I was thinking about chain attacking here, but I decided to wait for a longer fusion combo bonus instead. So what we're going to do is wait for the next time he gets broken here, and then use our level 1 or level 2 on top of that, and then we can chain attack on that fusion combo bonus, which will be very helpful. And you can see, even when I take damage, the Avant-Garde medal keeps me healthy. The potions can keep Zeke healthy even though he doesn't have any kind of medal, so we're actually just fine on that. I actually don't think I apply it here because I didn't expect them to get launched that fast, so we just get a quick smash in, get that extra smash damage, of course. Being able to driver combo the most powerful enemies in the game is very helpful. That means you pretty much never have anything to worry about, which is super nice. So I honestly have no idea if I actually applied this fusion combo in the right order. Some of the damage would make me think I didn't, because I thought I was going to get a bit more damage here on this, but that's not a huge deal. Still hitting almost damage caps with Cutie Pie. She's really strong, of course. Always great to have in the party. And we're going to get a lot of damage out of this chain attack to get rid of most of the rest of his health bar just off of this one orb fusion combo here, which is very nice. So Rock's level 2 doesn't do a lot of damage in chain attacks, as you can see. The 8 hits, it's hard to get it to cap without like a really good setup. Cutie Pie's level 2 is doing less than her level 1 here because I don't think I had anything equipped on her level 2 Poppy Mod slot because of some builds I was doing yesterday, but normally she'd do a lot more than there. From this point, he doesn't have much health left, and we still have the fusion combo set up from Cyclone on the remaining break timer, so we just use Cutie Pie's Sandstorm here to finish off this fight. And yeah, that's just kind of a typical how to use Rock. Use a lot of smashes, use blade combos when you can, and avoid dangerous attacks with your evasion art in your level 4. Now, Rock isn't obviously the strongest blade ever, and there's way more optimal ways to do fights like this, but if you want to have success with Rock, you can on any of the strongest challenges if you know what to do and how to take advantage of a smash art, and he's got a couple niches thanks to this smash art on Rex that can make him valuable in certain situations. I think that about covers it for this video on how to use Rock, so if you're a fan of Rock, I do hope you learned something and found this useful. He may not be the strongest blade, but he has heart, right? If you enjoyed this video, do be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and look forward to all of my future content. With all that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.